Ricky Nick, Alex, I Yield to No One, Sid, and Ender Phoenix.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Trophy Wars. This is episode 674. I'm your host, Ricky Mick. Alongside with me, the man, the myth, the legend. It's Alex.
Boy, do I have the first world of all first world complaints for you all today.
Oh, I have a complaint as well, but somebody was calling me petty for my complaint. But I'll let you go first. We do not have the awesome here this week. He's having some Discord issues, but we do have the man who thinks no flame is too big. It's Matt.
That's what she said.
Is that a better intro for you, Matt?
Maybe needs some work.
Maybe needs some work. Yeah. So how you doing, boys? It's been a week since we've recorded. We're still checking out issues. We are live on Twitch, by the way. They just can't see us.
But we do have faces built for radio.
Speak for yourself.
Now, I speak for, well, maybe not for Matt, but I speak for the rest of us.
Also, you're saying I'm ugly. Is that what you're saying?
I call myself ugly too, Tricky.
Yeah, but you can't take me down with the ship.
Listen, we're all ugly, but
We
not
can all
ugly.
we can all go down with the ship.
But not ugly is MZ and Channel 3 in chat. Hey guys.
Certainly not.
Oh, okay. I was just putting out the Facebook message saying that we are live because, we haven't done that in a while. It's so weird trying to host this and do that, and I don't know. So, gentlemen, we are on episode 674. I am not going to be hosting the entire thing. I'm going to give it back to Matt when we do the news, because he's better at doing the news. I suck.
Also, Matt is very tired today.
Yeah.
Which means we can do this real quick.
Sure. So let's get into our updated trophy count. I am level 968, total trophies of 34,480 with 999 plats. I'm still working on that 1,000th plat, although we'll get into that in a little bit. Alex, what are your trophies at, sir?
Level 521, total trophy count of 10,651, and a platinum count of 193 and 192 games.
Before we go on to Yield, I just want to thank Nitro for gifting a sub to Channel 3 GG. Thanks, Nitro. Yield is level 530, total trophies of 11,164 with 214 plats. Matt?
Sitting tight at level 222 with 1,337 leet trophies and 0
Leet.
plats.
He's lead.
I do like the picture Tricky put up for me.
I figured you would. Sid is level 893 with total trophies of 27,351 with 851 plats. All right. We do have a rarity update that I'm now have to pull up because I had to refresh the page. So give me like 2 seconds as I do this. Here we go. Pee-wee remains at the top of Division 1 with 1,902 points, but Marky Frazier has closed the gap with a score of 181. He now sits at 1,887, 15 points behind. Diego is still in third, but slipping further behind, and Rick stays in fourth. The only other contestant in Division 1 to earn over 1,000 points is MZ, who currently sits on fifth with 1,067. Yield had 38 points and is sixth with 952. Tricky and Alex exchanged places, with the former moving out of the regularization zone courtesy of 7 ultra-rare DLC trophies in the Division 2. Time will tell how much these will decay by, but it helped him gain to his biggest score of the season, 86 points, and is now on 426 points. Alex scored well himself, scoring 48 points, and is 30 points now behind Tricky at 396. However, the decay on Tricky's trophies may bring him closer to that by the end of the week. Gareth has been hating on me ever since I got these trophies.
He's just trying to be honest. Also, I didn't know. I thought all the trophies you could ever get for the Division 2 were done.
No, they just came out with the DLC and came out with 7 new trophies.
Oh, well, I'm sure that you got them before anyone, but leave it to the community. And given how rabid that community is for more Division, I'm sure that they will at least decay from ultra rares. I can't imagine. Are there any ultra rare trophies in the Division, Tricky?
I don't think so. I was talking to Garrett today because we were having a conversation about trying to do the live stream, and he said that he looked on the rest of them, and none of the other ones are ultra rares. But Nitro, they will last long. No, I pointed out to Garrett that I got an ultra rare when I popped the first one, because if you remember, not too long ago, he was giving me crap about I haven't earned an ultra rare in like 9 years or something like that, and now I earned 7 of them. So when I told him about this, he's like, "Oh yeah, they'll decay." I'm like, "Doesn't matter. They were ultra rare when I scored them." So
Yeah, but you lose if they do decay. You'll lose those points.
yeah, but he can't say I didn't earn an ultra rare. If they decay,
I mean,
they
at the
decay.
time, yes, we'll see how they hold up, but
Resident Daryl and Big Bernardo Rob make up the other regularization zones at 332 and 262 points, respectively. The only change in Division 2, Nightmare 317, having the highest score in the league with 111, moving him up from 8th to 8th from 9th, leapfrogging Murray 2011. The top 3 remain on course for promotion, and the scores similar this week: Doc Chicken with 58, Psychiatrist with 53, and CJ with 52. The rarest trophies of the week in reverse order are all pretty low. Pee-wee in 5th with Cryptozoologist at 3.04% in GTA 5. Psychiatrist with Dragon Slayer at 2.91% in Hand of Fate 4th spot. 3rd was X Nightmare 317 with Groovy in I Am Bread at 1.82. Tricky for the first time this year and possibly ever. True. For the Brooklyn Bounty Hunter in 2nd at 1.62%. And in first place, which also takes the first spot for the rarest trophies of the year, was California Wayne with Bet on Women in NBA 2K25 at 0.16%. Just 4 plus shoutouts this week. It's 5. Diego in Tomb Raider on the PS3 at 4.7%. Gaz with Gear Shifters at 34.16%. Dodge Williams with Infamous at 10.22%. Wow, Infamous is still that low? Homer gets stuffed with Oblivion Remastered at 23.75%. And California Wayne with EA College Football at 25 at 13.21%. Yeah, so let's get into what we're playing, gentlemen. We'll start with you, Alex. What have you been playing, sir?
well, I got very lucky in Helldivers and am now swimming in the super credits because, aside from doing the farming, which has done very well for me, paid dividends to where I don't need any more super credits and I need lots of war bond medals to buy everything. But found another 100 super credit bundle in the game. Was playing with another person and they picked it up and it was 100, and it's like, man, that's like my 3rd one. I don't know. I feel pretty damn lucky when it comes to that game, but I've also put it in over 300 hours. So who knows? Maybe one bundle average per 100 hours isn't really that great, but
Only 300 hours?
I don't know. I feel super lucky. Huh?
Only 300 hours? Those are rookie numbers.
What, have you played even a 10th of that?
No, but I put over 2,500 hours in Division
When did Division 2 come out?
5 years ago.
Okay. Helldivers came out last year. It's barely over a year old. So,
I
like
think
a year and 3 months old.
I think you're just slacking off and making excuses.
How much more? I got the Platinum Trophy. I'm caught up on all the war bonds. What else do you want me to do, Tricky? What else would you like me to do?
I've had the Platinum in Division for 5 years, 6 years.
Well, that's your own damn fault. Why are you
And
blaming me?
I'm maxed out on all my gear, and I still play every day.
Okay, well, that's your fault. But yeah, so maybe I should do this once we get to the end of what I've been playing, but I'll do my first world problem once we get to the end of this. Because Tricky apparently just skipped over that completely from the intro. Don't worry, listeners, we'll come back to it.
I didn't skip. I said we'll talk about it.
Sometime?
Don't bring me back at like my first day back hosting and try to give me grief.
You've been on the show since this isn't your first time on the show. Come on now. These are rookie mistakes, Tricky. Come on. So,
Oh my
I
lord.
have played a lot more Arcade Paradise, climbing ever so close to the Platinum Trophy. I've done a lot of the grind trophies. I've gotten most of those done, so I'm at the point in the game where I'm now taking over the laundromat, space and laundromat to, fund the arcade and make more rooms for the arcade machines. And I gotta say, the game, look, I talked about last week how there's a good variety in the arcade games, and overall, I really like the games, which is true. There are a lot of fun games. Some of them are definitely not winners, like Space Race Simulator. That one's fucking terrible. Line Terror, that's another one that's not great, and it comes down to it being kind of frustratingly hard. But overall, the machines, there's a lot of them, and they are, for the most part, pretty fun. But I'm at the point now where I'm basically just playing the arcade machines, because as you go through the game, there's two kinds of currencies. One is the money that you generate from the laundromat in the arcade, which goes to fund buying new arcade machines. And the second is pound sterling, which you earn from doing tasks around the arcade, which allow you to buy new songs for the jukebox and allow you to buy upgrades, which, for instance, one of the upgrades is you hire an assistant to the assistant manager, and that person empties all the hoppers in the arcade and deposits in the safe. And that way you don't have to stop what you're doing to go empty all the hoppers. You have someone do that for you. The money just shows up magically in your account, which is very nice. So I've bought in all the personal upgrades. So basically all I'm doing at this point is buying new arcade machines and playing the games, trying to do the little small in-game achievements for each arcade cabinet, and the specific ones tied to trophies for each cabinet. So basically just playing the games, again, having a lot of fun with it. And again, I appreciate how, and other people might want more from simulation game, but I appreciate how it's light on the sim and more just like, hey, it's about, actually playing it's more about playing the arcade games than it is running an arcade. Running the arcade is pretty simplistic. So, but I'm enjoying the game. It seems like this could be kind of like, I know they have a DLC where they introduce more games, but this definitely could be a game like Guitar Hero where it becomes like a platform. And again, this game is like, what, 2022? It came out a little while ago. So I don't think they're going to do this, but if they ever wanted to, they could just turn this to a platform and just they could just keep releasing arcade machines, and you can just, keep buying them and put them in switch them in and out of your arcade. But yeah, I've enjoyed my time with Arcade Paradise, and I should hopefully within the week have the platinum trophy and be able to move on to something else. But yeah, that is what I've been playing. As for my gripe, and Matt probably can't comment on this because he probably hasn't played his PlayStation all that much, if at all. But Tricky damn sure can. Tricky, have you had any issues syncing your trophies over the last week?
No.
Really? Because for the last week, every fucking day, it's like a nightmare to sync these trophies.
Are you manually syncing them?
Yeah.
I don't have to manually sync mine. I just turn off my system, and it syncs while it's on rest mode.
Well, I don't do auto sync just in case someone plays on my profile, which has happened in the past, and I don't want those trophies to auto sync. So, but yeah, I manually sync my trophies, and there's always like a network error or something like that. Meanwhile, I'm always connected to the internet. I'm always signed into the PlayStation Network. So, Sony, get your shit together. You want people to pay how much money for a PlayStation Plus premium subscription, and I'm sitting here having to, try to sync my trophies 6 times before it'll actually work. Like, it's bullshit. So, Sony, if you can't do something as simple as like allowing me to manually sync my trophies, what the fuck can you do right? Oh, also, I was looking through the Days of Play sale. There's no sale on PlayStation Plus. None.
Yeah, there is.
It's games and certain peripherals.
No, there is. I saw it.
I looked on the PlayStation Network. Where else would it be?
It was listed in the article when they were talking about it.
That was the article we talked about. That wasn't like a, hey, this is happening. It was the author theorizing that you might want to wait because remember, Yield talked about how there's 2 times a year when they give you a break on PlayStation Plus subscriptions, during Black Friday and during the Days of Play. I didn't see anything like that when I went to the Days of Play sale.
I'll look it up right now.
Because the article that we were talking about was just some yahoo talking about how this probably will happen. It wasn't like concrete. Because remember, you got all mad because like, well, duh, water is wet and the sky is blue, or the sky is whatever, not blue, but just looks blue. So yeah, as far as I can tell, no sale on PlayStation Plus. So,
all right, Matt, what have you been playing?
Got a bunch of stuff that came up this week. So I've been doing more of Doom the Dark Ages, but that's not the only Doom I've been playing. I went back and after I was very, very tired from working on the house, I decided to sit on the couch and play some Doom and Doom 2 and master levels for Doom 2, which, it's the old school Doom with the bit graphics. It was very challenging on the master levels for Doom. I had never played those before, so trying to move fast and aim right, it's a very difficult thing to do on those old games with modern hardware. Luckily, they updated them for the modern system, so I can control it with a mouse and keyboard, just making life a little easier. Also, more Monster Hunter Wilds. They have a Capcom collaboration out now where you can earn parts that let you dress up as Akuma from Street Fighter, and you could actually use melee moves by performing actions. Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, I had bought the remastered a while ago, and I decided to go back and just start my journey on that game. And I can't speak well enough about that first game. I've never played 2, so I can't say anything about it, but Soul Reaver 1 just is a fantastic game. If you like Zelda, if you like Metroidvanias, it's so well done. The voice acting is great, the story is great, and the remaster of upping the graphics and resolutions just looks great, especially on the Steam Deck. I also did buy into Elden Ring Nightreign, which, for those of you who don't know what it is, basically take Elden Ring, put it on a Fortnite map, and go in as either solo or as a trio. And your goal is to take out the Night Lord at the end. What happens is it goes over a 3-day period. That's what it's called in the game. At the end of each day, you have to fight a boss, and it's basically just assets from Elden Ring base game, whether it's a boss you fought before, maybe some side bosses you never saw. You fight them, end the day, and as you're running around, there's a ring that keeps closing in on you to force you to the next area, just like any battle royale. So as you're killing enemies, you're leveling up. If you die, your teammates can res you. If you die for good, so to speak, that is, you are dead, but your teammates are still alive, you basically lose a level and then lose all the runes you gained on your run. So just like in Elden Ring, you can go back, grab your runes, and level back to where you need to. But if you die again before you grab your drop, all those runes are gone. So buyer beware. It's $40. I think it's like an extra $15 for the DLC, which comes with an extra character, I think. I'm not sure if you can earn that character in game, but it comes with about 6 or 7 playable characters that you can use, each with their own special abilities and weapon focuses. There's an archer, there's a typical tank, there's a sorceress, and there's a character called the Duchess who focuses a lot on quick melee attacks. I'm having fun with it, especially when I play with my buddy, but there's no in-game voice chat. So we, for the first time, it just came out, what is it, May 30th? We just beat our first Night Lord yesterday, and me and my buddy and a random, all we could do to communicate with each other was just jump, just as a celebratory jump. Now, my buddy and I are using Discord, but the third person, there was absolutely no way to chat with them. And that's, people are not happy with it. They don't like that you can spend 40 minutes to get to the boss and then just get destroyed and have to start all over again. And they're not happy with there's no duo capability, that there's no balance for single player. It's much more tough at single player mode. Though they say that there's a patch coming for that and a patch later down the line for duos. So there's people that are unhappy with it, but I'm enjoying it. I've played only about like 10 or so hours. I'm good with it for the $40 that it was, and I'm having fun. So if you like Elden Ring and you like the frantic nature of what a battle royale does, take a look at it. But the real game I want to highlight this week, and Alex, you will be happy with this one, is I decided to put some time in and focus and ended up beating Tales of Iron. And I am pretty damn happy with how that game turned out. You know, it's not a super long game. It's a lot of fun. The combat was tough. And I played it on like the mid difficulty. I didn't do like super hard or super easy. It definitely is challenging from a combat perspective. I did not 100% Alex, so just make sure you're aware of that. I don't think I'm going to go back to it to complete all the little tasks and everything. I explored it thoroughly. I did get all of the meals to make sure my health bar was as long as it could be. But the thing I really want to talk about is in the Mole Town. And you guys, and being wrestling fans, I noticed it immediately, was Macho Mole and Molekind and Mole Mysterio. It was just one of those, oh, okay, the guys who made this are wrestling fans. So
there's also a Hulk Hogan mole.
I did beat him, and I wanted to kick my screen.
Why?
He was fucking cheap and tough.
Fair enough.
Yeah, what Matt's talking about is the arena fights in Mole Town in the first game, and some of those can be very difficult. I mean, like you said, the combat's difficult, but the arena is basically all boss fights, and that's typically like the most difficult part of the game. So,
I think the real trouble I had was probably the first one. Mole Mysterio was the first guy I took on, and it was just difficulty learning the patterns. And there were some times I was playing, I was like, all right, I'm not in the mood for this. And I fucked off and did something else. But it really definitely pays dividends to focus on the patterns and dodge roll where necessary. I got a little bit better each time. There were some bosses in that game I didn't have nearly as much trouble as those in the arena. But I was still having fun. I'm just very upset about Jay. He was my little buddy.
oh, the mole dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tales of Iron definitely has that. Now, I will say between the two games, like there are sometimes characters are going to die, or you think they're going to die, and they're not. So, which is nice, a nice surprise. But you do lose characters sometimes that you may like, and it's like, God, it's a punch in the gut, and they're not afraid. They don't shy away from that. But I am glad that you beat the first game, Matt. I don't expect you to 100% it because I know that's not the way you play, but I am glad that you got all the way through it and you enjoyed it. So, here's the thing. When it comes to combat, did you find that it was more, they tried to get you, like, to reward you to parry, so that they would, like, because when you parry, you basically open up the opponent to an attack and you go in and get some free licks on them, usually like 3 or 4. Did you find that it was more useful to parry than just to kind of run around and dodge?
I only ever really parried when it called for it, when it gave the yellow indicator. So that was the only time that I really tried. But I kept forgetting that blocking was a thing. Yeah, and when you don't have an unblockable attack, it was like, oh yeah, I should probably block to avoid just dodging and getting it open that way.
Yeah, because you don't really have to block nearly as much, because generally the blocking is safe for like long range attacks like arrows or guns or something like that. And don't get me wrong, that stuff will melt your health away if you don't block it. But it's easy to forget about the shielding because it just doesn't happen as often.
I think I ended the game somewhere with my weight being less than 50%, my defense being pretty much maxed out, and it just seemed like I was always getting a new weapon that was better than the last one. So I don't think I had any specific style. I just went with whatever did the most damage that weighed the least. And I stuck with my shield. I didn't get to use any of the guns because bullets were fucking expensive. So I didn't do that. But I did end with just a normal bow, even though I had some crossbows that were part of the game. And the last boss wasn't super hard. I did have some trouble on him at the beginning, but once I started realizing, because I sometimes panic dodge a little too much, which leaves me open. Once I got the cadence down, I was fine and just I knew as I was going through the fight what markers were or what indicators of the attack that was coming. But like I said, it was a nice little game, maybe 15 to 20 hours that I spent on it, just because I was exploring for all the food stuff. I didn't do the statues in that basement. I got like 3 of the 4 statues, so I'm not really 100% what was after that. But it was good. I enjoyed it. And, my friend You Exorcist got it for me for $5 when it was on sale, and I appreciate it and gave me a lot of enjoyment. So I'll probably wait till the Whiskers of Winter is on a deep discount to grab the next one, but I definitely will be playing that one too. And
Excellent to hear that, Matt.
that is what I've been doing this week.
All right.
Oh, we did want to clear, Tricky, before we move on, we did want to clear up that you did find there is a sale, or you do get a discount on PlayStation Plus as part of the recent promotion. I just looked on the PlayStation Network store and couldn't find it, which would be, I would figure, a good place to put it, but maybe they just only list the sale games there, the promo games, and then you actually got to go to the PlayStation Plus tab to find it. I don't know, but I didn't see anything about it on the PlayStation Network digital store, which you figure since PlayStation Plus is for that, it would be there. Very highlighted, but...
Yeah. You could just said, Chicky, you were right, which is normal, but, we'll move on.
I know, I had to explain, like, that...
We'll move on. It's okay.
Okay, Tricky, whatever. I was trying to clear up things for our customers, or for our customers, our listeners. And sorry, I kept saying the PlayStation Network, PlayStation Store, so I got the customer stuck in my head. But our listeners, I was trying to make sure we were right and correct for our listeners. And all you got to want to do is brag about, oh, I was right, blah, blah, blah. Yes, Tricky, you were correct, and I had trouble finding the sale. What else do you want?
Somebody clip that for the future. I just want to welcome Black Chaos into the chat. He stopped in and said, "What's up?" All right. What have I been playing? I've been playing Division 2 all week. That's all I played. All week. They came out with the new DLC. It is great. I'm loving the new content. I'm having the time of my life trying to go through and get all of the different collectibles, all the new exotics. I can see myself going into this game for a while. They expand on the story, which I am great. Nitro said, "Ooh, no thanks, Tricky Mick." I don't. What did I didn't offer you anything.
He was probably talking about you playing the Division.
Well, I mean, I can't hate. I can't help that. Nitro doesn't play good games.
Nitro plays plenty of good games. What are you talking about?
Hunter Houston 13 says the best podcast on the East Coast. Ha ha ha. I too have a high opinion of my podcast. Sure. We'll go with that. Now you guys got me all frazzled. I don't know where I'm at.
You said you were playing the Division 2.
Yes, Division 2. Our truth will be addressed. Thomas. Yeah, Division 2, it's all playing, loving it, new content. I can see myself spending, another couple 100 hours, just in Brooklyn trying to fight all the DLC. Came out with the new season, story implications in the DLC. Now, the DLC story and the main game story, they are similar, but the Brooklyn story is not canon, so to speak. It makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. So, but I can see what they did in Brooklyn to possibly set up the Division 3, which we know is in development. So I'm really excited for that. Yeah. And what I've been petty for, and I'll ask you guys if I'm being petty about this, because, apparently I'm always, wrong in these situations. But a buddy of mine asked me to sign up for a game. I think it's called Steel Hunters. I think that's what the name of it. It's made by the same company that does World of Warships, Wargaming. I went to sign up, and my username was taken. So I said, screw this. I'm not signing up. I want my username. Am I being petty for not signing up because I can't get my username?
So, um, so your friend asked you to play to sign up. Does the friend just want to play with you? Does your friend need help with something? Like,
No, they're like, hey, let's check out this game. He saw an advertisement, I think on YouTube or something like that. I mean, it looks pretty cool, but I went to sign up and somebody has my username, so I decided not to sign up. But he said I'm just being petty.
I don't know if petty is the right word to use, but I definitely think you're being silly for that being the reason you're not going to play the game with your friend. I think it's a tad ridiculous, kind of childish.
So if you were to sign up for something and Raise Havoc was taken, you wouldn't have a problem adding a number onto the end of your name?
Or I would just pick a different name. I'm not married to that name. I honestly wish I could change my name. Because I made that name years ago, and I could probably think of better names than Raise Havoc, but...
Well, you can change your name.
Oh, yeah? Well, do you have to pay for it?
I think the first time is free. After that, I think it's $10.
Oh, well. Definitely not paying to change my name, Sony. But, I mean, if the first one's free, then that's pretty cool. But, yeah, Tricky, I think it's ridiculous that you won't do it because you're mad that your name is not available to you. Just play the damn game. Pick a different name.
Matt, am I being petty?
You should pick the name Trickiest Mick.
Matt, am I being petty?
I agree with Alex in that petty isn't the word. Are you being... I don't know.
100% I'm being difficult.
Are you being picky? Yes. But also, as somebody who has gone through various usernames myself and having very specific requirements for when I make a username, I don't blame you in that if I can't get the name I want, I'm not gonna try it. So I'll side with you on this, Tricky, to say I get it. I too many times this is kind of that in line with that. Why should I have to make another account to play something that works fine without it? Going back to the Helldivers 2 scenario, it's kind of like, well, then I have to start remembering usernames of multiple different systems, and if I could just unify my username, then fine. But I get it. I get where you're coming from.
Nitro says in the chat, this is just a Yield and Microsoft conversation again. And then Thomas says, look, trademark the name or move on. My name is trademarked. But it's not trademarked worldwide. It's only in the United States. All right. We're going to move on. That is it. At this time, Matt, I'm going to throw the show over to you to do the news.
Alrighty. When I gave the agenda out, I almost forgot the thing that we normally have to do at the beginning of the month, and that is the PlayStation Plus games for the month of June. So by the time you all are hearing this, should be either out or just about. So what does this go live? June 4th? So yeah, these will be up. So the monthly games are NBA 2K25. Yay. Alone in the Dark and Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, and then Destiny 2 The Final Shape DLC. So, I look at these and go, if I were a paying member, I'd probably give Alone in the Dark a try. But, like, a basketball game? Really?
Didn't Alone in the Dark, bomb heavily?
It did. It did not. It had the action to be starring David Harbour and somebody else, and it didn't do what the old Alone in the Darks did. So, don't think we'll be getting another one of those.
All right.
I don't know, Alex. You gonna grab any of these?
No, I mean I've got a few games lined up. Like the Blueprints, I think, is one of the games that's in the PlayStation Plus Extras catalog, and I've got like a little bit more than a month before my stuff expires, so I definitely don't want to waste my time. And if you want to play one of these games, I'm not saying it's a waste of time, but for me, like, there's just other games I'd rather play, and I kind of want to hit those while I have the chance. And like another Crab's Treasure or something like that game is also joined the catalog, and maybe that's a game I want to play. So there's just other games I'd rather play than I haven't played a basketball game in the longest time, and that definitely doesn't, change now. I may watch basketball occasionally because, I don't know if you all know, but here in Kentucky we do basketball pretty well. But yeah, basketball video game, I'm just not really that enthused. So
And Hunter says that they give us a basketball game every year. I believe it. I don't care, obviously, since it's a lazy way out, and everybody who wants that game, most people who want that game will have already picked it up on day one because that's the type of players that get those games. MZ says they're passing on this month's games. He's got so many games going on at the moment, anyways. Tricky, any of those hitting it for you? I'm not sure what Cyberpunk is, but it doesn't seem like any of these are up your alley. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I mean, I was thinking about giving Alone in the Dark a shot, but that really comes down to, if I could tear myself away from the division. I'm like right now I'm 5 trophies away from getting the platinum in Shadows, and I don't even have a desire to go get my 1000th plat. Like that's how much I'm into the division right now. I might give Alone in the Dark a shot, but it's gonna be a while before I do that. I'll download it, as you should do every month with your PlayStation Plus games. Just put it on the list, and you'll get to it when you get to it.
I have to ask, Tricky, is that one trophy in Shadow still glitch for you?
No, it did pop. I turned on the game and it just popped. I was in the loading screen when it popped, so that was cool.
All right. Our next story, I combined two different sources because this one was a tricky source from IGN and a me source in Forbes. Talking about EA canceling the Black Panther game, closing Cliffhanger Games. So this, if you remember, was going to be I want to say older style Black Panther game set in the World War II era, featuring one of the prior Black Panthers, including Captain America. This was in development by EA, and unfortunately, with this, the studio Cliffhanger was also closed as part of this. So the IGN article kind of covers what happened, and the Forbes article covers some thoughts on why it happened. So they're basically saying is that the quote out by EA says, looking ahead over the next couple of years, we're focusing on what we believe will be the biggest impact: Battlefield, The Sims, Skate, and Apex Legends. Also, their time in storytelling with an Iron Man game and the third installment of Jedi series. So what that's telling me is they're again putting money and focus into their big games, and especially some of those games being monetized to hell. So we'll see what happens. But Alex, what are your thoughts on this closure and cancellation?
It goes back to sequels and sequels and sequels. That's what EA is doing. They're falling back on bigger franchises and sequels because first of all, I don't know why they have a lot of faith in Battlefield, because it doesn't seem like they've treated the Battlefield franchise all that well in recent years. So for them to count on that being a huge hit for them, who knows? Maybe them putting more money into it, more effort behind it, and focusing on fewer games and fewer series will be a good thing for those series. But EA is just not going to innovate much anymore. They may innovate some in some franchises, and let's be real, closing a studio is never good. I mean, I guess those people could always diffuse out somewhere else, or maybe EA's got some room for them in another studio. Because, if you're going to have big games, you got to have a lot of people to work on those big games. But it's just, no one's surprised, because EA's doing Skate as well, right?
Yeah, which is currently monetizing in early access beta.
Yeah, we've talked about it, and it just leaves a sour taste in our mouth. I don't know. There's just nothing EA's doing that I care to even play or be excited about. It's like, well, if I don't like Battlefield, I'm not going to like the next bunch of Battlefields. And I'm not going to give you any of my money. That's kind of one of the problems about having like limiting the titles you put out, is that if you don't already have that audience, you're not going to get that audience. Like, you're not convincing new players to come in. You're just going to get the same old people, and maybe not even the same old people, like a dwindling audience, because, if you're not treating that franchise right, people may drop off and say, I'm not gonna spend on this game anymore. I'll go play something else. So just not great news from EA. I mean, like if you want to do Jedi Survivor well or the Jedi series well, more power to you. You want to actually make Battlefield really, really great again, that's fine. But I just there's nothing like as a game player, I don't want to give my money because in at the very most simple terms, they're not making anything I want to play. So, and when you think about innovation in games and being excited to play new things, EA is certainly not contributing to that. So.
And Hunter, yeah, I get what you're saying about the former team that did Modern Warfare, Titanfall, and Apex Legends doing Battlefield. But the problem is the design decisions that are being done with the new Battlefield, from what I've read, are kind of going back to those things people didn't like in the Battlefield 2042 launch. So it seems like they're taking one step forward and 10 steps back. It's like everything you learned from 2042, you're pushing aside. So hopefully it works better for them. Tricky, anything, your thoughts on the EA fiasco?
I just have a question because I forgot to look this up. This is not the Captain America Black Panther game, is it? This was a dedicated
Yes.
Black Panther. Oh,
Nope.
It is.
Yeah, it was that mix. Yeah,
Oh, that game did look good though.
it did, and that's why it's very disappointing.
Well, you also got to think like they are paying to use these licenses, especially from Disney, and like paying to use Black Panther. I'm assuming they pay that licensing fee, and they don't give that, or Disney doesn't give that back just because they decide they can't make this game anymore. So you're paying for these licenses and not making anything out of it. Kind of seems like you should get something out. That's just me though.
Me and Charles were playing Division today, and he asked the question, because you guys remember Division Heartland was canceled and it was basically done, which now is going to lead us into this. Do you think that they're going to use assets from this game in other games? Like Charles asked me today, do you think Heartlands would be integrated into what the Division 3 is? Are they going to use those assets? I can't see companies just throwing away the assets like that and just like, oh, it's done. I think they have to reuse them in some capacity, wouldn't you think?
I mean, they'll probably use some assets, whether they created an engine, whether they made improvements to the engine. There's always something they'll pull from their work just to not be a total loss, to cut the corner somewhere else. But it's not like they're going to use the Captain America or Black Panther or other models they made in the game.
All right.
All right. Which story? I lost which one I was going to. So here, coming from a new place called Tweaktown, PC now majority of Capcom's digital game sales beats consoles. Written by Derek Strickland. Just saying that Capcom's fiscal 2024 report reveals that PC as the leading platform for digital games, accounting for 60% of total digital sales, 28.2 million sold. So, Capcom is one of those studios that I feel has had a lot of great press recently. They've done some really great games over the past decade, not even counting before that, but they've just keep being the gamers' darling. And leveraging the PC market and, Monster Hunter of all things, and then Street Fighter and other games like that coming out to PC day and date as their console brethren, you're seeing people have a preference for playing on PC. So I don't know if there's much discussion around this to say, other than Capcom seems to know where their bread is buttered, and I'm happy with that being a PC gamer. What do you guys think? Do you think they'll start leaving consoles in the dust, or you just think that this is just part of their strategy?
I don't think you can leave consoles in the dust because there's too many consoles out there to make money off of. You've got, I don't remember exactly how many PlayStation 5s you have out in the wild, but you got 50 plus million or 50 million plus PlayStation 5 owners out there. You don't want to sell to them. So, and there may be some games that are better fit for a PC, but you still want to hit that console market because there's just so many people out there that are willing to spend money.
Tricky. I just saw a message. She had to step away. MZ, also thank you for passing a gifted sub over to Houston. You're a good guy, MZ.
Well, because I mean, like an example, like Monster Hunter. You think they're going to take Monster Hunter away from anybody? Because it's on the. I mean, it's on. You know, is it on Switch?
Not Wilds is not on Switch, no.
Okay, but had the some of the past games.
Rumors that it's coming to Switch. So they've traditionally handled it. Monster Hunter or Capcom handles Monster Hunter in two phases. There's always two teams working in tandem. One had kind of focused on the mobile market, the other focused on the console market. So now with Wilds being released in full production on that, there's going to be a team working on whatever Nintendo is. My theory is that Switch 2 is going to get a port of Wilds in some way. I don't know how. It's a pretty intensive game, so I don't know if it'll work properly, but that's my theory.
Yeah, I mean, if you make your console, your if you make Monster Hunter Wilds available on PC, Xbox, mobile, PlayStation 5, Switch, you got to think that if you're cutting the consoles out, you're losing at least 50% of your market.
Yeah, and these stats were like 60% on PC, 40% on console. So the gap isn't massive. It's not like they're doing 85 20. They want to make sure they're getting their sales out there, but it's just interesting to see that PC really has taken off for them as a platform.
Yeah, but I still think that there are some franchises that they have that are more so tied to the consoles. I mean, you think about like I know Monster Hunter's been around for a while, but like Devil May Cry and Resident Evil, I very much think that, and probably even Street Fighter 2, like a lot of those franchises still have to be in some people's minds tied to the consoles. Like I played this on a console growing up, and I just always play on a console. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but yeah, 40% of their sales on consoles is still a massive chunk. Unless it's like 5% of sales on consoles, I cannot see them ever, just going like, we're only PC, we're only developing for PC. So,
yeah, but like I said, Capcom is a darling developer these days. There hasn't been a whole lot of negative publicity. Yeah, they've had some falters with things like Street Fighter 5 and some other games that they've put out, but generally speaking, you can bet on Capcom more than you can't. That's at least my observation.
And like Resident Evil, like you think about how they where they took Resident Evil during 5 and 6, and how they've kind of people complained about that, and how they kind of returned Resident Evil to its roots and made the series beloved again. Some people did enjoy 5. I'm assuming there's like one or two people that like 6, but the game has kind of gone back to a more horror aspect, which people have seemed to appreciate a lot. So, Capcom seems to be doing well in a lot of areas. People are going to complain about, the microtransactions in Street Fighter because it seems like Capcom is willing to, just hit you with those till you're dead. But yeah, I mean, in all other things, or it seems in most things, they have, among the publishers, the third-party publishers, more goodwill than kind of anybody else. But when, the other competition is Ubisoft and EA, I don't know. Like there's definitely a
good guy by default.
Yeah, Konami as well. There's just kind of like everyone else kind of looks incompetent by comparison.
Yeah, Hunter, I don't know. He's talking about the Street Fighter Cross Tekken debacle, and I'm like,
how you only got one game of those two?
Yeah, and you know what? It was okay, but like, what happened to my Street Fighter or Tekken Cross Street Fighter? Like, I was waiting for that one.
Bandai Namco decided never to make it.
Yeah, well, that's unfortunately what happened.
Capcom fulfilled their end of the deal.
Yeah.
Look, we don't need to rely on Namco Bandai at all. What we need is Street Fighter versus Darkstalkers, both owned by Capcom. Great, like similar art styles, like be badass as hell.
I'll pass.
Well, you get fucked.
Matt, I do want to put out a correction, which gives good news. The Black Panther game that was canceled was not the crossover. That's actually called 1943. It's being made by Skydance Games.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good news then.
I think
Was Skydance? Did they have anything to do with the Walking Dead games?
I don't think the wait. Yeah, I think they picked it up once Telltale went at. I forgot some. What? Yeah, no, it sounds familiar.
I'm looking it up right now. Skydance Interactive has made Behemoth, The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, Retribution, Archangel. I don't. I think Skydance. I I think it's similar, but hold on. Who makes The Walking Dead? The Walking Dead. Is it Skydance?
I thought they picked up the games after Telltale went ass up.
What's the actual comic distributor? Is it Skydance?
I don't remember.
Walking Dead comics. Hold on. I'm looking it up right now. It's not easily being seen. Skybound is what they're called. Skybound.
Okay. I thought there was something similar, and I just kind of got the two conflated.
I mean, they may be related. I mean, the names are very similar. They may be related, but no. Skydance and Skybound, I think, are two different things.
Alrighty. Well, we'll keep this moving because this isn't critical to everything. Just saying that it's I don't even know where I was going with this point. Moving on. I'm just going to skip this next story. Not really caring to cover that right now. The one story I will cover coming from Game Rant, Helldivers 2 is being review bombed again. This comes on the wave of some major orders. For those of you who aren't into the Helldivers 2 universe, basically the Illuminate are attacking Super Earth and Helldivers are being called to defend. And with a 98% success in defending, the defense of Super Earth was called a failure. And the president of Super Earth was killed as a reason. So the reason I brought this story up, and of course, players aren't happy with this, so therefore they're going back to Steam reviews and review bombing Helldivers 2 again. This kind of goes back to the complaint, Alex, you've had a number of times, is saying, why even bother having a victory mean anything when it just means that you repel the bots and they just come back again later? So this kind of goes in line with that to say, well, you did really well on defending Super Earth. You just didn't get 100%. What's up? I know you'd have something to say about this.
Bet your ass I do there, Matt. No, I mean, it just lends more credence to what I said last week, in that I'm going to focus on farming super credits because that's the most, to me, that's like really the only resource. I mean, war bond medals and super credits are the only resources I need in this game still, because everything else I'm maxed out on and have no use for them. And then again, my thing is, I hate getting stuck in a game and feeling like my time is wasted. Like, yeah, when you play Helldivers, you might have to, you drop down to the planet, you kill some bugs or some automatons, you have some fun. I get it. If you're lucky, you can play with some friends. But when it comes to progressing through the game, we're not progressing in the story. It's just they are extending the story to release more war bonds so that hopefully some people will get annoyed at having to play for the super credits and instead just spend the $10 to buy them. They're only extending the game's story and the war so that they can sell more war bonds. They are in complete control of this. Nothing we do is going to stop their plan. They clearly have a plan in place on where they want to take this. And so even if we defend Super Earth, who knows, the bots may come back. And it's like, well, or the Illuminate may come back, and there we are again. So I don't know. I don't know how if we lost this major order, how we didn't just lose Super Earth and we just lost. Like, I don't understand. You've basically trained your players to not give a shit about your major orders, because anything we do doesn't matter because you're going to have us do a certain set of things anyway. So again, I'm not doing the major orders. I don't fucking pay attention to them. And if we end up losing the war, I don't care.
I'm reading the article right here. It says that it was held at 99.9783%. It says this isn't the case though, as it's a defense in which the Illuminati are continuously invading. It's impossible to hit 100% until the time limit on the invasion expires. I think that this was 100% intentional.
No, I mean there was, even in the first year of the game, the first 3 months, we had talked about how we were set up to fail in some major orders. I mean, the president, Super Earth being defeated, but yet not losing Super Earth, like there's still remnants of it or whatever. Like there's still a fighting chance, but yet we lose the president. That's very much intentional story on their part. They plan this out.
I mean, can't that be seen as a good thing though? That they're progressing the story.
We literally have fought for over a year, and the map looks worse than when we started. How is that progress?
I'm not saying it's progress. I'm saying...
Well, here, Tricky, I don't think you understand. Like, when we say story in Helldivers, like, it's not really a story, honestly. Like, Matt, would you say that, like, there are little tidbits to read, and they give you missions and stuff and background, but it's not really story? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, like, I would have expected a little bit more. I'll go into a mission, and I just completely ignore the little data tablets. Because there's no time. Like at the levels that we're playing now, I'm not sitting there reading a tablet to get some color text or something. I'm looking for actual progress. And I would like to be able to go into a mission, help the major order, and knock the bots off for like a month to give you a little relief. Because the goal is push them back, set up a defense, and maybe keep them off your back for a little while you're focusing on Illuminate or bugs. But just to have them come to Super Earth and make it an impossible mission, like Tricky said, absolutely intentional, absolutely intended, and it does leave a little bit of sour taste. And that's the thing. People end up not caring about the major orders because of this. So why even bother playing if you're just going to lose? I think it goes back. They have a lot more success when they do missions and major orders that provide a reward or a penalty, and you got to make that realistic and balance that. So I don't know.
Listen. I'm not into Helldivers 2 the way you guys are, but explain to me, and I'm not trying to be like difficult here, but explain to me how you losing this major order is like any different than the con fight in Ghost of Tsushima, where you had to lose, like there was no way to win that fight. Tell me what the difference is. This is the game telling a story, and it's like, okay, you have to suffer this loss. I mean, to me, there's really no difference.
The story in Ghost of Tsushima is an actual story you see play out in front of you. The story of Helldivers 2 is these groups are attacking, and you have to try to defeat them. It's literally all that is. It's the Illuminati coming to Super Earth. You have to protect Super Earth. It's literally a very bare bones story. They fill it out by like doing specific descriptions of missions and major orders, but the story itself is just there's a galactic war, and you need to defeat these other groups to save yourself from annihilation. And that's what it is. It was the same story we've had for the last year and 3 months the game's been out. And when you have people put all their time and effort into doing this one thing only for them to fail, that feels awful. Like, it feels like we're not progressing in the game at all, because progression to me is you defeat the groups. And we had a chance to defeat the automatons, we did, and they brought them back to the map again. And I will say I have enjoyed the hell out of this game, but I will say the game masters fucked up a lot on this map shit.
But if you eliminate them, wouldn't eventually the game get boring with fighting the same enemies?
No, because the point is to win the war, and I don't want to sit here and be playing this game for 5 years trying to win the war. After a certain amount of time, people are just going to give up and not care. Like I said, I think that if you wanted to introduce this to Xbox and get more players, new players, that time is past. That time, a lot of people have moved on from this game. Yeah, I saw like 150,000 people playing this major order to defend Super Earth. That many people probably aren't going to be playing again. Normally, you get somewhere between 20 and 30,000. And just interest, like you've got your set players, but interest in the game is just kind of way, like, remember when it's so hot, like it was like super hot baked potato where you just couldn't hold it in your hand. Like they had to add more servers because they could not accommodate all the people who wanted to play this game. And I feel like the game's popularity peak has definitely passed it. And you doing this and making a major order that, well, they're just supposed to fail just because it's going to add another element to the story feels like shit for everyone playing the game. It's been a year. We should have won the war by now. I do not care that they have more war bonds to sell us. I don't care they have more weapons and skins and whatever to sell us. The war should have been over by now because people put enough hours into this game to make that fucking happen.
And then what happens after you win the war, though?
The game is over and you move on to something else. Like, seriously, like, do we need to play this game for fucking ever? Is that what the expectation is?
Well, it is a live service game, Alex. I mean, their expectation is they want people to keep playing. So if they can continue the story by saying, "Hey, you're gonna win this war." I mean, Helldivers won, didn't like they win the war and just basically restart the war?
Yeah, you won the war, you just restarted. This game does not do that. It's one continuous war. Do you not think people get tired of fighting the same factions? I mean, if you want to keep people invested, create new enemies. Like
I'm sure they are.
A new faction. They create new enemies for each faction, but at the same time, you're still going to fight the bugs and the automatons.
Didn't they introduce a third faction? And I heard
the Illuminates. Those are the ones who are attacking Super Earth.
right. And I heard
they're already in the first game.
Yeah, they're in the first game. All three groups were in the first game.
Yeah, but I heard they were actually. I saw a rumor somewhere saying that they're going to come out with the fourth faction.
That'd be interesting, but until that's proven, there's.
Listen, I don't have any. I don't have any skin in this game. I'm just saying I get 100% what you're saying, Alex. Like I'm not trying to argue with you on that point, but I'm just saying like if this is the way they keep people interested, I mean it's not working for you obviously, but if this is the way they keep people interested by saying you lost this part of the war or you're never going to win this war, I mean I see that as a plus, honestly.
To never achieve the goal of the game is a plus. Like, hey, what if like it's just like, hey, you're playing the original Mario and you just never into the game. There's no into the game.
But that's different. That's
stupid.
That's not a live service game.
It doesn't matter, Tricky. Like making it so that the goal is to end the war and you just never end the war is a good way to get people to say, fuck this game, I'm never playing this game again. Like this game has been review bombed twice by its players. Like
we've hit where we needed to. We'll move on to the rest of the show, but obviously this is something to keep an eye on as to what actually happens on.
Well, hey, and what happened last time they got review bombed? Oh, they caved and they gave players what they wanted. So,
alrighty. Now comes the part of the show where we get to answer some listener questions.
Time to check my social media, yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you all to everybody who wrote in, especially Hunter. You have a number of questions here. But, we've been lacking some listener questions recently. So if those of you who wrote in, thank you very much. First question comes from Will. Between Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, which is the more evil corporation? I'm going to say it right here, Microsoft.
Wow, that was good. That was going to be my answer too, but I'm actually going to say something different. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, I don't know. I think because of the Joy-Cons and their drift, I think Nintendo actually might be the most evil one of everybody. Trying to gaslight everybody to thinking there's not anything wrong with their controllers. Honestly, Nintendo has always had a lot more goodwill than the other two because they were always the cheapest console. They were always the most family-friendly console. Like they had the properties, the games, the series that you grew up playing and just loved, and you always had to be able to play those games. I don't know, like there's always like a more angelic look to Nintendo than the other two, whereas the other two just kind of look like they're money hungry, whereas like Nintendo makes games for people to enjoy, which is, I'm sure the case with Xbox and Microsoft and Sony as well, although they, definitely focused on the money. I don't think you can, like, we're a PlayStation podcast, so of course the first guess is going to be Microsoft. I honestly don't think there's a difference between Sony and Microsoft. I think they're just kind of the same, like on the same playing field. So if you're going to say one's more evil than the other, I don't think you can do that because I think they are both the same kind of. They have different strategies, different people work there, but at the end of the day, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference between Sony and Microsoft.
I think Nintendo's the evilest.
Okay, well, explain yourself.
Well, I, I'm gonna get roasted for this, but the fact that Nintendo was behind the ball on their games, and a lot of people complained about the video quality of their games, being downgraded on a Nintendo console. The fact that they're coming out with a system now that's just on par with PlayStation 4 graphics, and it's the same price as a current PS5, and the fact that none of their games hardly ever go on sale. They never, give you like good discounts. The only good thing about Nintendo right now is the price for their online service, but you're getting what you pay for. Like Nintendo's online service sucks, and the only real benefit to getting Nintendo Online is to get access to the Nintendo Super Nintendo 64 games. Like their online chat sucks. It's just bad. I think Nintendo is definitely not. When I'm defining evil, I'm saying I don't think they're consumer friendly. I think they're out for themselves, where Microsoft is very much trying to be for the gamer and get their games everywhere. Sony is hard headed in their own ways as well, but I think Nintendo is just far worse than what Sony was doing.
Microsoft is trying to get their games everywhere so more people will play them. It's a business strategy. It's not a altruistic move.
No, but you're gonna sell a console for $400, $500, $600. At basically, you don't even need the console anymore, because if you own a competitor's console or you own a decent PC, you don't need to sell their console anymore. So I mean, just like the rumors now that they're making a next generation console, like that boggles my mind. It's like you're not focusing on your games. Like some I saw a post the other day. It's like, once Halo comes to PlayStation, which we all expect it to, like there's really no point to buy an Xbox console anymore. So like, why are you even developing a console? If your business model is going to be put your games everywhere it can be, if you're going to go the Sega route, then go the Sega route and don't waste people's money.
Don't you think it's far more evil for someone to say, like, stifle games coming to, like, remember Sony was stifling crossplay between different games and different platforms.
Oh, absolutely. Sony was wrong for that. Like, I'm not giving Sony a pass on this. I just think, as far as when it comes to the consumer, and what I said, I'm defining evil as not being consumer friendly. I think Nintendo is more anti-consumer than what Sony and Microsoft is.
Well, Microsoft also is raising the price of their existing consoles, which have been out and have lost.
Sony's doing that too.
So yeah, like, how about we just all agree they're all kind of like, they're all, again, after profit. They have shareholders. They need to make money, so they're all going to make money in their own different ways. But it all comes down to their financials. Like, I think individual people want to make really fun, good games. Like, Shigeru Miyamoto, like, we all know his story, but he seemed to really love making games for just the love of it. But you've always got those corporate figureheads in every single company that are about, well, we made this much money, but we didn't have our projections, blah, blah, blah. So for every company, it's the same. Different strategies, same end goal. You can pick out different things that each company did that are shitty.
No,
Listen,
go ahead.
I'm saying it this way. Microsoft is evil because they're literally buying everything up in a bid to stay relevant and actually put out good games, even though that's still being waiting. That's still not going to happen. Sony is evil because they literally treat all of their people, all their customers, like walking pocketbooks, because whether it's a live service game, whether it is a nickel and diming you for different games, the Sony tax that they fucking started, not Nintendo, not Microsoft, Sony, their position has made it that they've become money hungry and their business, so they got to be profitable. Nintendo is evil because of their staunch defense of their IP, their ridiculous DMCA strikes on YouTube channels that promote their fucking software.
I forgot all about that too.
As well as their lawsuit happy for suing people on emulation progress for games that they haven't made a buck off of in 30 years. So each of these are evil. To Will's point, which is the more evil company? That depends on how you feel they treat you. All right. Next question. You two can talk about this. Daryl asks, is the R-Truth release a work or a shoot?
The more I see the news, it's more looking like it's a shoot. But when I first saw it, I initially thought it was a joke. R-Truth making the joke, making an June 1st joke, a la April Fool's joke. But the more and more I see it, it's looking like it's real, which sucks. Alex, you know anything about this?
I actually I had not heard of that. So this is the first I'm hearing of it, but I know that they sometimes release people and then bring them back in short order. They will do that sometimes, and sometimes maybe it takes a few years, but I mean, R-Truth is an older guy. He's definitely over 50. But he still, again, was like, he was extremely popular with people, so I don't know why you would get rid of him, because you could be like, hey, Truth, you don't wrestle as much, you're more of a comedy character, and people really forget that he was a really good wrestler at TNA as Ron the Truth Killings. Like, he was really good. So they turn him into a comedy character. You can't have to pay him that much. Be like, hey, Truth, we love you, we want to have you around, we can't pay, we don't really feel we can pay you as much given what you're doing and given the fact that you're getting older. But I can't remember them ever releasing someone as a work as part of a storyline.
No, I don't.
It's always been.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say I don't think it's WWE doing the storyline. I think this was just him. At first I thought it was him goofing around, making an April Fool's joke. Thinking June 1st was April Fool's. Like how he confuses things all the times. I thought that was the work. Like he was just messing with the audience. But it's not that he got released. It's from what I'm saying, it's that WWE is just not renewing his contract. So it's not that he's been released. It's just they possibly just informed him they're not going to be renewing his contract.
Yeah, which I mean, again, he's older. Maybe they feel like his shtick has kind of gotten old. They feel like maybe they've taken him as far as they can go, and they don't have anything really creative to do with him. And maybe the John Cena thing was his swan song, where he fights his hero John Cena and loses on Saturday Night's Main Event. I don't know, but it is shocking because he's been around for a long, long time, and the fans really enjoy R-Truth. And he was doing that last year, the stuff at the Judgment Day, which was pretty funny when he was trying to pretend he was in the Judgment Day, but they wouldn't let him in.
Yeah, so he's 53 years old.
It sucks, but I mean, WB, like, no one's really safe. I guess there are a few people who are safe, but you never really know who they're going to cut. And again, people who are getting older, people who have injury issues, people they don't have story. They're constantly signing new people, and we're calling them up from NXT. So it's no real. It's a shock that it was him, but on any given day of the week, if they release somebody, it's like, well, that's WWE.
Well, everybody's coming out. All the other wrestlers are coming out, and basically making this is true. So that's why I'm starting to think this is real. But he was with WWE for 20 years.
Well, he showed up around around 2000, and then he went to TNA. Well, he was like the NWA World Champion, and then I guess he came back at some point. I forget exactly when he came back, but he definitely was there for a long time. And
I mean, I can look it up real quick.
I mean, honestly, do they sign him to a Legends deal at some point? Maybe. There's always that chance. But
I think they have to. He was with WWE from 99 to 2001. Then he went to TNA from 2002 to 2003. And then he returned back to the WWE in 2008. So
yeah, I mean, he's had one of the longest tenures there. I mean, my God, The Miz is probably the only person who's close to how long R-Truth has been there. So, I mean, it sucks, but it's
I think
probably real. It's probably real because, like, I don't know, unless like they have an episode of Raw where like he walks in Triple H's office and he's like, Triple H is like, R-Truth, what are you talking about? You weren't released. And then R-Truth calls him Tommaso Ciampa because he thinks Triple H is Tommaso Ciampa. I don't know. Like, but yeah, it's likely real. I don't think, given how they recently did cuts to wrestlers, like, almost 20 of them, I doubt that they would like, he would make a joke about it and like try to use it for storyline because that does affect people's lives. And he would probably realize that he's a comedy character on TV, but that's not who he is as a person. So he probably realizes that would be in bad taste. So I can't see this being just storyline.
All right, so The Miz actually joined WWE in 2004. Randy Orton has the longest career. He joined in 2000.
Yeah.
But
so,
I mean,
there a while.
I mean, you could argue and say John Cena too, but John Cena has been gone for quite a while, so I wouldn't say that like.
Well, he was always contracted under. I'm assuming he was always under contract in some way.
Who, Cena?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying, as far as active like wrestlers that have gone off for a long time, done anything else, Randy Orton's been there the longest.
Yeah, but I mean, Miz was second, so he's up there.
All right, Matt, you can wake up now. We're done.
Oh, good. Thank you. Going to combine the next two questions from Will saying, will the Switch 2 have a successful launch or just so-so one, or will it fail? And Roberto says, after everything that happened with Nintendo Switch 2 between January's unveiling, the April drama, and now the launch this week, what are your prospects for the system? Is this truly the beginning of a new golden era for Nintendo, or are there troubling signs ahead? Tricky, you were the most critical of Nintendo there in that last question. What do you think?
You know why it is, Matt? You know why he's most critical? Because he is terrified of the Switch surpassing the PlayStation 2 in sales, and he just can't have that.
I don't think it's going to happen. Sony will arbitrarily move the number again.
I'm glad
they're just going to make up a number like, oh, actually, no, we looked at the numbers and we sold an extra 5 million more.
That's what Matt said. They did the first time. I don't want to be the Nintendo hater here, but I don't see the Switch 2 being as successful as the Switch. I think the Switch was a flash in the pan that came out and like caught on really good.
What? The fuck are you talking about?
Hold on a second. Hold on. Flash in the pan is the wrong phrase. It was a niche that caught on quick, the same way the Wii did when that first came out. I think people are going to see the writing on the wall with the Switch 2, and they're not going to buy it as much as they did the Switch. So, am I going to call it a failure? No. But I don't think it will be anywhere as successful as the Switch 1.
Tricky, this is why we can't have nice things.
I'm just being honest with you.
I mean, you be honest, but the Wii is not a comparison to the Switch. One, the Wii had an issue with shovelware. Two, it was all about the motion controls, not the system itself. This is about the system, and what the hook of the system is. You can play it handheld or you can play it on a television screen. That's what the hook is.
And that's why I said you had that with the Switch, but I don't think that hook is going to be as successful with the 2. I think that they got their fill with the 1. That's not going to drive sales for the 2. And I think, I don't think the 2 will fail, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere as successful as the 1 was.
Well, again, part of my point is your comparison to the Wii is not a great one because the thing that caught on at first was the motion controls, and then everyone got tired of that and they didn't want that again. But also, like Wii Sports, you got to think about Wii Sports and what that did for the popularity. One game, what it did for the popularity of the console. So
you're kind of making my point for me, but
we'll move on. Tricky. You compared the Switch to the Wii when the Wii was about the controls.
You're saying that you're saying the motion controls for the Wii is what caught on and people got tired of it. I'm saying the novelty of having a home console and a handheld combined is why the Switch caught on, and now that novelty is worn off, and it's not going to be as driving force for the 2.
No, it's not worn off because we have phones, Tricky. People still want handheld gaming machines and they still want to play at home. So no, the novelty's never going to wear off because we play on the go and we play at home.
Okay.
one of the things to again make known is that traditionally Nintendo has done very well in the handheld market. So therefore, whether it was the Nintendo DS, the Nintendo DS Lite, or the 3DS, or the new 3DS, it's always done well, at least in the Japanese market, because they like it. But this is also a larger console. So therefore, I don't know how well it's going to do on that aspect. I still think it'll do well. Obviously, the launch day sellouts are pretty good, and the process to do this launch has gone smoother than, say, the PS5 or the Xbox Series X. So I think it'll do well in sales. To answer Will's question, to answer Roberto's, so something Joe Priestley had said was there's basically 2 new Nintendo IPs in the launch window. Everything else is remakes, remasters, re-releases, or upgrades. So I don't know how it'll do sales wise in the long run. Nintendo says that they expect to sell 15 million in the fiscal year. I know looking at the PS5 launch, they did like 2 to 3 million at launch, and they were starting to face the COVID issues at that time. So who knows? I think it'll do well. I think some of the decisions Nintendo's making are interesting in the fact that they're hoping to catch lightning in a bottle again, that the system isn't wildly different from their last one. Yeah, they have the mouse feature, which is nice for first-person shooters, but people aren't going to Nintendo for first-person shooters. It's literally going to be there for Metroid Prime 4, and not sure what else.
So I think when you buy a PlayStation, you are looking to use that device to play a lot of games continuously. When you buy a Nintendo, you got to remember, like, yeah, there are going to be some people who buy a Nintendo and that's going to be their main gaming console, and there's going to be people that buy a lot of games for their Nintendo Switch or Switch 2. But you also, it's the most mainstream of the gaming consoles. So you're going to get people who buy it for, say, Mario Kart and maybe a few other games, but that's it. People buy a PlayStation to spend a lot of money on games and play a lot of games on that console. To do the PlayStation Plus route, to do, whatever, to play the latest cutting-edge AAA games and all the biggest Sony hits. People will buy a Nintendo and stash it and play a few games, buy some Mario Party, and that's what they'll do. It's a lot less of a, I'm going to buy this console and this is my main hobby. Like, I feel like there's a number of people and more people on Nintendo than the other consoles that are fine just buying it for family use or just for gaming once in a while. It's not, I don't think, it's not as intentional to spend money as like the other consoles are. Like when I buy a PlayStation, I know I'm going to buy a lot of games. I know I'm going to play a lot of games. I know I'm going to get a lot of trophies. Can't say the same for Nintendo. At least, when it comes to a more mainstream gaming audience.
Okay. Moving on, Thomas asks, with the new Jurassic Park movie coming out soon, how much money do you think it'll lose? Basically saying that with the focus being on, what's her name? Dallas Bryce Howard, one of those. Anyways, I'm not excited for the new Jurassic Park because I haven't watched a new Jurassic Park since Jurassic World. So therefore, oh well.
I haven't seen any of the new ones.
Yeah, I thought the Mosasaurus was really cool, but I mean, I watched the first movie, but after that, I just didn't. No.
Onto a more gaming related question. Live action Legend of Zelda movie. Who's actually going to play Zelda or is rumored? Would you be okay with the person that is playing Zelda? He is talking that Hunter Schafer is currently rumored to be playing Zelda. I don't know much about Hunter Schafer and or her work, so therefore I don't know or don't care. I did see an article that I agree with that Anya Taylor-Joy would actually make a really good Zelda.
For those of you who don't know who she is, she was in, I mean, she's been in a lot, but she was in the Witcher Netflix series.
Was she?
Yeah.
Which seasons?
The first, I mean, I've seen the first two. She was in those.
Who did she play?
I can't remember her name. Look it up, playa. If you
Sorry, too lazy. All right.
Also,
anyway,
hold on, I'll look it up. But I was gonna ask, is Timothy Chalamet playing Link?
That's everybody's saying, all right, stop trying to find people who look like the characters and just maybe get people who can act like the characters, which means whoever's playing Link just needs to shut the fuck up.
That's very true.
It's,
Would it be jarring for you if Link does talk in the movie?
well, excuse me, princess. They need to throw that line in there and then have that be the only line he says.
Give him the Silent Bob treatment.
Yeah. Any luck finding, Alex?
Okay, so I guess maybe I was wrong. She was in The Witch, but not The Witcher. I could have sworn she was in The Witcher.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know what she does or how good she is. So, would I be okay? Can she act like Princess Zelda? Yeah. If yes, then fine. I don't care. Tricky, any thoughts?
No.
Okay. Moving on to the final question. What are you hoping will show up during the shows going on next week as part of Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest? I added the Jeff Keighley part there just because I think we have to brand it that way specifically.
Just to aggravate the piss out of me.
I honestly didn't do it to aggravate it. I did it because I can't say Summer Games Fest without saying Jeff Keighley in the same sentence.
I'm ashamed to say I didn't even know this was next week.
Yeah, it's that time. Evidently, he had like some sort of video today that didn't do anything to drum up excitement because it was just a bunch of re-releases and games we already knew about. So I think we're trying to look for anything that maybe has, exciting news. So if he's been able to keep stuff secret like he did with Elden Ring Nightreign during the Game Awards, I hope something comes out. But obviously, I'm always looking for more Monster Hunter news.
Sure.
Tricky.
I have no hype for this at all because I totally forgot this was even a thing.
Alex, anything you want to see?
Honestly, I can't think of. I mean, it'd be nice if we got like an update on Wolverine from Sony.
Oh, okay.
It's been
Since we know-
5 years since we got anything with that, right?
Not 5 years.
I think it's been 5 years.
I don't think so.
I'm looking up right
You
now.
can double check, but it definitely hadn't been 5 years. If it has been 5 years, that 5 years has passed.
Close.
Scary.
Close. September 2021.
There you go.
It's
Okay,
it's coming
so
on 4 years.
Not even 4 years. Okay, well, I mean that's still longer than I thought, but Beyond Good and Evil 2. Yeah, I know.
We're never gonna see that.
It would be nice though.
The game is vaporware now.
Although I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this right now. Hot fucking take. And I don't care. I'll take all the smoke. Beyond Good and Evil is over fucking rated. Game is not as good as everyone says it is. And yes, I've played it. It's a good game.
Never played the first one.
It's a good game. It is overrated as fuck.
I'm waiting for the chat.
All of 2 hours of the first one, so I have no opinion.
Oh, Matt couldn't even finish it.
Well, that's not a surprise. That's not saying much.
Come on, Matt. Well, at least you finished Tales of Iron.
That is true. Alrighty. So on to our topic of the week.
Toe. Topic of the week. Well, fine then. Fuck you, Matt.
Tricky forgot to edit that again.
You told me last week don't.
And I really don't want him to do either.
That's what I'm saying. Last week I was told not to do it.
Oh, okay.
So make up your minds. You want me to edit it or not edit it?
It took long enough for you to get to it. Last week I was in the wrong because I started going in. You were like, "Hold on, fuck you, Matt. You're missing this." And then now it took you like a good 5 seconds to get something off the ground.
Well, that was because my soda was in the way of the button. I couldn't get to the button.
All right, this comes as a much aligned topic in. You've all seen it this week that people have gotten the Switch 2 in their hands. And unfortunately, the system basically does not work without a day one patch. I mean, you can't even put in your Switch 1 games and play them on the Switch 2. So this all kind of goes around with street dates. And, there's the thing about console street dates being broken versus... game street dates. In some cases, games you might put in a system and it works before the actual release date. But there's a lot of shade being thrown at Nintendo saying, people have the Switch too, just let them play. Call Nintendo out being like, going back to Will's question, that Nintendo's evil because they have the system out there and people can't play it, that they spend money on it, whether they spend money or it's a tester. But I'm asking the group consensus here, is Nintendo, jerkwads for not letting people use the system before it officially releases? Or are they just...
I'm applauding Nintendo for this 100%.
Okay.
I think this was brilliant by Nintendo to do this because I know everybody gets excited about being able to play a game early, whatever the case may be. Nintendo said, no, this is our date. This is the date you're all going to start to be able to play this game. I love the fact that Nintendo did this because it's saying a big fuck you to everybody that broke Street Date. I know everybody's a fan of being able to break Street Date. I've never been a fan of that. I don't like the fact that people break Street Date, whether it's for the game, the consoles, the mom and pop shops. I hate the fact that people do that. I applaud the shit out of Nintendo for doing this. And I think moving forward, gamers should be, publishers and developers should do this for your games as well. I applaud Nintendo for this 100%. I know that's a hot take, but that's the way I feel.
So Hunter's in chat saying, no, they're not brilliant because people pay for that access. You're taking away that access.
What? I'm sorry.
No, I would argue that access starts at
launch date.
At launch date, because think of it like this: you pay for a concert, you can't just show up to that concert early and have the band play. You have to wait until it's time for the band to play.
Yeah, but also the band's not in town. Like these people have a Switch in their presence. The band's just not always at that venue for you to watch.
Fair counterpoint. All right. A movie. You pre-purchase a movie that has a release date of 2 weeks from now. You paid for it. You can see it in your library, but you can't access it. Is it wrong for them making you wait until it actually gets released?
Can someone explain to me? Because obviously there's the breaking street date became people got a hold of games before the official release date and could play them, and that was always a big thing. Why does it really matter? If someone can play a game, I'm not saying months in advance, but why does it matter if somebody could play a game a day before it officially comes out? We've seen play this game early being tied to bonus collections or collector's editions, hey, pay more and you get free or you get sooner access. I just understand why it's such a big deal if people get their hands on a game a day, a few days, a week before it's officially out. Who cares?
All right.
So and Hunter asks, so when they just decide to make your system not work, overheat, you're okay with that too? Be careful the line you walk. Tricky, you're about to say something?
I was about to say the same thing, but I mean, we just recently saw the story about how Nintendo said that if you mod their system, they could brick your system. I mean, let's be real here, and let's compare this on a personal but much lower scale. We do this show every week, and our scheduled release date is Wednesdays at 8 a.m. in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. 9 times out of 10, the show is done, edited, and uploaded to the back end of the site before the post goes live. If you were smart enough and knew how to do it, you could get this episode earlier than the release date. I mean, it's on a much lower scale, and Alex, I know you're really not going to care, but we have a set date for this show, or time for the show to come out. It doesn't upset you that somebody would bypass the system to get it earlier?
If someone was so excited to listen to this fucking show a day early, absolutely not. I would be fucking thrilled.
I knew that wasn't going to go well, but I mean, that's the same
here's
point.
The thing, for Nintendo, as long as someone legally obtains your console and pays for it, why the fuck do you care? Now, if they're hey, because what can they play their old Switch games they already own, or pay to have a license to play, or Mario, if you got the bundle Mario Kart, the newest Mario Kart game, they're not going to have a wealth of games to play. But if they're like, hey, our online system's not set up yet, we're still working kinks out, and you don't want people coming onto the console and then messing around online when your store isn't set up and all that, I can understand that. But if someone bought the console, who gives a shit? Like, really, they're giving you their money. Like, why is it so important to, like, if you don't want people breaking street date, don't send your consoles out till later. Don't ship all your consoles out so early.
You can't do that.
Like,
you can't.
I understand it takes time to get all these things somewhere, but how long until the actual official release date?
It's what.
So, well, it comes out on the 5th.
4 days.
Who fucking cares? It's 4 days. Who cares? Honestly,
But it's not
So,
4 days.
100
It's been a week and a half already. People were
Yeah,
people got them a
these-
week and a half ago. So you're talking 2
So,
weeks
like,
before street
a
date.
week and a half, 2 weeks. Like,
Hunter asks, what if you don't even mod it? You said, let's say you say something bad as a reviewer and decide to say it. Okay, Hunter, your language here broke up on me. Basically saying that what if you say something bad about Nintendo and they brick your console? Well,
And you have a lawsuit.
there's consumer protections against that. But also, that does bring up the idea that reviewers get shat on all the time by publishers and developers that you rate their game badly. You don't get review copies ahead of time and it hurts your business. That
Right.
happens all the time. That's why a majority of these games show up as a 7 out of 10 or a 7.5 out of 10, as opposed to a 5 or even a 4. Yeah, no, there's consumer protections that they can't just brick your console. That's a retaliatory action that would be,
As a reviewer, and Alex probably can attest to this as well. As a reviewer, if you give a console, a game, a bad review, 100% you could be blacklisted from that developer from doing it. I think for a while IGN was blacklisted on some games, but if a developer or a publisher is going to blacklist you because you shat on their game, then fuck that developer, 100%. I there's nothing. There's nothing you're gonna tell me that's gonna make that fine if you're getting blacklisted. Now, to your question, if Nintendo decided to brick your console because you gave a game a bad review, you have a hell of a lawsuit.
and in most cases, you're taking them to small claims court. They're not showing up. You'll win by default.
Yeah.
So can I ask, and then let's get back to the topic here. If someone plays the Nintendo Switch a week and a half ahead of time early, how does that hurt Nintendo?
Nintendo has a right to brick your console at that point.
How does that hurt them though, financially?
So here's the thing, and this came up on a video RGT85 had, where some people questionably and allegedly got their hands on a Nintendo Switch console and tried to mod it. And the allegation is that they had to reach out to Nintendo because it bricked the console. They deemed it unhackable. And now what you have is that Nintendo said, well, you had these units, you did something to them. We may take you to small claims court because you damaged our systems. And there's determination whether that's accurate or not. But if somebody gets their hands on this console ahead of release, before these systems are online and tracked, potentially Nintendo could be hurt by somebody hacking the console and breaking it even before the street date. That is a financial concern. That is a legal concern Nintendo has
100%.
before they let these systems online.
Not even that, but just to take a step further with Matt saying, if somebody gets this console and was able to hack it ahead of time, and then on release date, they say there's no reason to buy a Switch 2, you could do this with your console, that's definitely going to hurt Nintendo sales.
But people will do that anyway. They're going to jailbreak it, and you can't tell me that, like. So basically, the what you were saying is they can track these bricked consoles easier when all their stuff is online and after the official release date. Correct?
Well, I mean,
Yes.
but also, and I don't know this for a fact, but just let's make the assumption here that maybe Nintendo, from the time it went the Switch 2 went into production to now, have found a way that their system can be hacked, and they're readying the patch and the fix, so it can't be hacked, through a software update. But that patch is not going to be ready until day one. So now anybody that gets the console from, before the street date and is able to go online with it can now exploit it, where Nintendo already has a fix in place and saying, well, it's not going to be ready until this day. Let's make sure our console can't be used until then.
Let's be very real about this. This is about Nintendo controlling everything. Because
Agreed.
most of the people, the majority of people who get this early and want to play it early are people who are excited to play the fucking console. It's not the majority of like people who are jailbreaking everything. And I don't understand how Nintendo is going to track, if they can track people who have jailbroken their console when the console's online, then you can track anybody, whether they jailbroke it before the release date or whether they jailbroke it after everyone got it.
Well, I mean,
I don't think that's that big of an issue.
Sony tracks you as well.
Okay, I'm not saying, but they're going to track you based on your connectivity online. So if you jailbreak your console and go online, they will track you regardless of when that happened.
Yeah, but that argument doesn't make sense when you fact that Microsoft and Sony both track your system. I mean, just look at the PlayStation Stars program.
I'm not questioning whether they track the system. You're saying that part of the problem is that people will jailbreak it before the console gets officially released. Well, if they can track any console that's jailbroken, they will be able to track those consoles even if they were jailbroken before release.
So hold on. Let me jump in here, because even Daryl brought up this point that this is the way of new consoles. This is the way that it's happening. The Xbox Series wouldn't do anything until you got online and updated. The Sony disk drive for their new form factor PlayStation can't use it until you get online and download a patch. This is just the way that businesses are doing these things now. They want to control. It's not just Nintendo, it's all of them. They all want to control what you do with their systems.
So I think we can all agree then the issue is not lost sales. It is all about control.
No, I think it's 100% about lost sales.
What?
No, not 100% about lost sales. This is about making sure that, yes, Nintendo has control over their products and their software, 100%. But this is also about protecting them from lost sales through people hacking the system and being able to play all the games for free. Like, I just saw something, now this is not Nintendo, I just saw something for the PS4 where it's like $69. You stick a thumb drive into your PS4, turn it on, and it automatically hacks it, and you can play every single PlayStation 4 game ever made for free.
Tricky.
What?
If someone can jailbreak the console before the release date, they can jailbreak the console and not buy games and just download to their console after release date too.
Not if they release a patch. Right now, Matt, I'll ask you this, Matt, because you're the PC guy. Windows 11 now, apparently Microsoft took out the ability to install Windows on a console or on your PC without making a Microsoft account. You know about this?
Yeah, so for the longest time, it's been that you had to have a Microsoft account to start your Windows machine. However, there was this very little tiny icon that says bypass and log in locally. Evidently, they're moving towards, I don't know if they already moved toward it or they are moving to where you must have a Microsoft account to use Windows.
Right. So what I'm saying in a roundabout way, if Microsoft is doing that for Windows on the PC, Nintendo does that for the Switch too, to make sure that their console can't be hacked. This is a smart move by Nintendo.
So why don't they make sure it can't be hacked from the start?
Because maybe after production, they found the exploit that they didn't know about before it went into production. So now they're doing this to make sure that they have the right patch out before day one to make it not possible.
Tricky. They have functioning units before they send in production. You're telling me they can't hire people to test out? Like they test like people in like quality assurance to test out the game to make sure there's nothing wrong with it. You tell me they can't like, hey, you hack games, come in and try our console. We'll pay you to show us where all the holes are, and before we release it, we'll make sure all those are closed up. You're telling me they can't do that?
All right, we're getting very long on this, so here's where I'll leave this at. Alex, you're absolutely right. It is about control. It is about them not wanting their thing out there before they have the ability to say, yep, this is the date. However, as a sales company, that is their right. They are said, this is the date we want our console to go live. You are not allowed to have it live before then. If you're talking about people who have it in hand because they paid for it and they got it beforehand, that's just the luck of the draw. Unfortunately, Nintendo said, nope, can't have it active until this date. So that's all I'm going to say there in response to that. You're right. However, it is their right. Alrighty. So sorry to move this along, folks. I know we're having a heated conversation, but also a good one. That said, we can start landing this plane, bringing it on home. I apologize. It's been a long day.
Yeah, Matt wants to go to bed.
Let's see which one of us is going to clap when we land this plane safely.
I'll nosedive it. Alex, your shout out, sir.
Give a shout out to the community, the fuel to the fire, the troop yours. Thank you, our awesome listeners, for joining us, downloading the podcast, spreading the good word. We appreciate you. Who do we have in chat tonight? I know we had MZ Nitro. I know we had Black Chaos. We had Channel 3. Who else did we? Do we have anybody else?
Zombie Cupcake.
What? Hunter? And who else?
Hunter Houston 13, which is Thomas, and then Zombie Cupcake, which is a fellow Twitch streamer, and we also have V in the chat as well.
Okay, I just didn't remember everybody, so thank you to everyone for joining us tonight live. Give a shout out to my co-host Tricky and Matt, as well as Yield, who was unable to join us tonight. Shout out also to my loving and awesome girlfriend Ashley. I love you, hun. And yeah, that is going to be the end of my shout outs.
Tricky.
Shout out to Sweet Mama D. Shout out to the Goddess. Shout out to all the listeners. Shout out to everybody that was in the chat. Channel 3 GG. I forgot to tell you. I forgot to tell Alex you were in the chat as well. You just popped back in.
Well, I thought I said Channel 3.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'm zoning out as well. I'm tired. 3 a.m. comes very early for me. Yeah.
3 a.m. comes early for anybody.
Yeah. Well, I'm not used to it. Like, I'm used to going to bed at 3 a.m., not waking up at 3 a.m. So, yeah, that's it for me, Matt.
Alrighty. So similarly, shout out to you, gents, for recording tonight and putting up with my tired voice. Shout out to those who were in chat, especially Hunter. You were there engaging with us most of the show, so I appreciate that. Shout out to all the people who posted questions in our group. Shout out to the Channel 3 community. Make sure to go to channel3.gg if you like gamified social media. It's a lot of fun over there. Know some good people, present company included. Shout out to my wife, V. Thank you for everything you do. And until next time, happy hunting.
Matt, you forgot somebody.
Did I?
Will.
Thank you. Will, thank you for all that you do on I have that on the freaking agenda and I always skip it. Damn it.
Also, quick message. We put out 4 new shirts. We got more coming on the store. Please click the link. Go check them out. And if you like what you see, purchase them. There's going to be an Extra Life shirt that's going to get posted. All the proceeds from that shirt will be donated straight to Extra Life for this year. Happy trophy hunting.
All right. Happy hunting. Get out there. Hunt. Do things. Play games.
The theme song is Venus by the band Eden off their album Z. Permission granted by the band and 12 Stone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/EdenPhilippines.